Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Cindy, and in today's video I'm going to show you a digital art tutorial when it comes to blending. Now I really hope that this tutorial is simple and easy enough for especially beginner artists, so I just want to make sure that the step-by-step guide is easy to understand. Now with this tutorial, I'm going to put in a neutral medium tone gray color as the background for my canvas, because gray is a neutral color that's going to help me to see the values of the color easy. For the first technique, I'm going to use a very basic brush, the Heart Round brush, which is a default brush from Photoshop. When you are painting, make sure that transfer is on and that your pen pressure setting is on. This is incredibly important because when it comes to blending, it's just so much easier for you to use the pen pressure setting on so that you can control it with your own hand instead of messing around with the opacity or flow. I personally always keep them both at 100%. Now I'm going to pick a vibrant, bright, colorful pink, and I'm just going to put it in with the Heart Round brush. And so that it will help you to see how I blend the color, I'm going to pick an opposite color, which is blue. Now when it comes to digital blending, it's actually very simple. It's easy. It all has to do with using the eyedropper tool to pick the color that is in the middle of those two colors. But the key here is about you controlling the pen pressure with your own hand. So here, as you can see, I'm just blending it in softly. I don't put too much pressure on my pen. All I gotta do is use the eyedropper tool to pick the color in the middle, like in between those two colors that is layering on top of each other. I pick it up with the eyedropper tool. I pick the color again with the eyedropper tool and just softly blend it in by making sure that you put enough pressure, but not too much, but not too less pressure on your pen tablet. This is all about controlling the pen pressure, so you gotta make sure that it is on. So as you can see here in the video, I just keep using the eyedropper tool to pick the colors in between where I see that it's still a little bit rough and I want to smooth that out. But another technique that you can use is to use the soft round brush. So using a soft round brush, make sure the pen pressure is on. I am just going to pick the eyedropper tool again to pick the color that I want to blend, and I softly put just like a little bit of pressure on my pen and smooth it out. Now when it comes to the soft round brush, don't overuse it, especially when you are painting skin. If you're painting a portrait, any type of portrait, and you're overusing the soft round brush, it's just going to make it look really smudgy, ugly, and plastic looking. So for the second technique, it's pretty similar, but to make it easier for you to understand how you blend and the direction that you have to move your brush in, I'm just going to put in this circle over here, and I am using a skin tone. So you can imagine that, let's say that you are painting a skin tone on a portrait. So now I'm picking a medium darker tone for the shadow parts of the skin. Now pay attention the direction that I'm painting. You pay attention that in the skin tone painting, I am doing a circular motion with the brush instead of vertically or horizontally, because the direction that you do on your blending will actually affect the way that it's going to look. It's going to affect the texture that it's going to have on the painting itself. And as you can see here, I am still using the Heart Round brush. I haven't changed it into any other different size or style of brush. Sometimes I would change the brush size a little bit, but just a little bit. And all I did was just making sure that I put enough control on the pressure, not too much, not too little. And using the eyedropper tool, I pick the color in between where I see that it's still a little bit rough. And I would just blend it in with a circular motion. Now, if you would like to make it a little bit smoother, again, you can use the soft round brush, which is a default brush on Photoshop. Make sure opacity and flow is at 100% and the pen pressure setting is on. And you can just softly smooth that out by putting just a little bit of pressure on your pen. Remember, do not overdo this. Don't ever try to paint purely using a soft round brush because it's just going to look really smudgy, plastic looking, and it's just not attractive, especially if you're doing portraits. Now I'm going to show you a different technique. So for this second technique, we're going to use a texture brush by using the default brush from Photoshop. So here you can just still use the hard round brush, and then you can mix it up by turning on dual brush. Now this is why it's really important, and it's also fun for you to play around with the brush setting. You can choose whichever brush that you feel like it's texture enough. So here I'm just like picking random brush that I think it's texture enough, and I merge it in with the hard round brush, and I just play around with the setting to make sure that it has a little bit of textured rough edge on it, almost like a chalk oil painting feel to it. So this can be very helpful when you want to paint something like really texture, almost like an oil painting. So you can do this whether it's for portraits or environment, especially environment and nature. That is very helpful. So as you can see here, since we mix two brushes together, you can see that it has this gritty, rough edge to it that can look very aesthetic in its own way. So if you have a specific style in mind that you want to achieve, that you want to after, especially that kind of digital look that looks almost like traditional, this can be very helpful for you to do this technique, is to just by combining two different brushes together and play around with the settings. But when it comes to the blending, it's all the same. Use the eyedropper tool to pick the color that you want to blend, to pick the in-between color that you think it still looks a little bit rough, and just make sure that you are using the pen pressure setting on so that you can control it in your own way. So I suppose that's why it's very important, I think, for beginner artists to learn like the basic fundamentals of art and colors and so on. So you don't have to worry at all when it comes to finding the perfect brush. You don't have to worry about that, because if you're overly worried trying to get that perfect style, you're not going to actually focus on the things that you need to learn, like the basic fundamentals of art. Here I am showing you the brush that I personally really like. I actually bought this, so you don't have to buy your own brushes. You know, there are so many free brushes out there that are very high quality. It's really good, it's stylized, but then again, this is one of the brushes that I personally like to use. I'm going to link it down below in the description. So as you can see, this brush has a very painterly look to it. It's very painterly, it looks traditional, it looks like you are painting with oil painting, you know, like those classical oil paintings. So when it comes to this style, you can choose whether you want to have pen pressure on or not, because sometimes you want to, you know, give it a really harsh and contrasting texture to your painting, such as environment or painting nature, painting background like mountains and lakes. So it can be very helpful for you to pick a very rough and textured brush without having to turn the pen pressure on. But then again, it all depends on you. When it comes to the basic understanding of blending, it all has to do with the eyedropper tool, you controlling the pen pressure with your own hand. Last but not least, no matter what type of brush and blending technique that you are doing, other than pen pressure, what's really important is that you pay attention to the shape of the surface. Pay attention to the object that you are painting. But what's really important is the direction of how you blend it. For example, you're painting something of a square, or something that is warped, like diagonally warped, or something that is circular. Now, whatever type of objects or surface that you are painting, you gotta pay attention to the direction of your brush to blend it in. If you are painting something warped, something that is diagonal, then you go ahead, follow that direction. If you're painting something that's flexible, something that looks wavy, then you go ahead with the circular motion, just like how I did with the skin tone practice. It just would not make sense if you're painting something horizontally, but you are using a circular motion, unless you are going that for a specific reason and style. So here I'm just going to show you some of my previous earlier digital painting process, and you can see here straight away as on a portrait. But then again, like I said, if you are overly focused on trying to find the perfect brush, if you are overly worried trying to find that perfect style for your art, instead of learning all there is to know for the fundamentals of art itself, then you're not going to really improve. No matter how many type of brushes, no matter how many style of brushes that you are using, no matter what kind of blending technique that you are using and that you are trying, if you don't really study and pay attention to the fundamentals of art, you're not going to really improve well, because it's just very important for you to understand the basic first so that later on you can twist it in your own way and experiment. The key here to get better and improve, it's all about practicing, studying, but most of all, experiment. You cannot and you will never find the right style, the right brush, the right technique straight away within just one experience, within just one try. It's all trial and error. It's all about experimenting with different things to find that perfect, that perfect jackpot that you really want to achieve, that perfect result. And you cannot expect that overnight you're going to hit that jackpot and straight away know what you're doing, because a lot of times even professional artists don't really know what they're doing after so many years. So here, as you can see, some bits of clips of my digital painting. I am using a similar brush like the oil painting one that I showed you earlier for basically about everything, to paint background, to paint faces, skin tones, detailed, and the flowers here on her hair. So I just like to use that because it's very multifunction. I can use that to paint a really texture, painterly look background, but I can also use that to paint details, even hair. So again, you can actually just stick to one or two brush and it's going to do the job. But what really determines the result and the success of it all has to do with you studying and practicing a lot. But back again, when it comes to blending, it's just you using the eyedropper tool and controlling the pen pressure on your pen tablet. I really hope that this tutorial is helpful for you and that is useful. Go ahead, leave a like and comment down below. How do you think about this tutorial? If you tried it, whatever it is that you're still experimenting with your art, go ahead and share it down below. I would love to hear it from you. You can also subscribe, of course, and click the bell ring so you won't miss any new notifications. I will be back with more videos. You can go ahead and follow me on Instagram as well at Amourinette. All of the links is down below in the description. I will see you soon.